Hello there, welcome back to my channel, Snips by Kelly. I'm Kelly, and tonight I have some beautiful cards here for you with some elevation tips, and I'm introducing a brand new card bonus kit program. We're going to be using the Close to My Heart Journey collection, gorgeous ginghams, florals, dots, chevrons, ombre patterns, all of these patterns on the pattern paper, also some beautiful silver and gold foil embedded cardstocks, UV coated cardstocks, and some plain cardstock in our Journey color. So Journey was our color of the year, and of course, as all of you know, at the time this video will launch, Close to My Heart will have closed its doors. Journey is no longer available, but I know many of you out there grabbed the Journey collection before the company closed. We're going to use some extras, some shimmer trims, some sequins, and some Journey ink. And these are the base cards of what we're going to make. And I've added a Stampin' Up die called Around the Bend. I love this set of dies. They're absolutely gorgeous, and they make curved shapes within your cards. Now, there was also a stamp set at one time, which is no longer available, that coordinated with these dies, but the dies are going strong and they are available. It creates stitched borders and curved borders with flourishes on the border. We're going to do a little bit of sandpaper technique, but we're going to elevate the current cards that you see here. We're going to be doing some techniques on these to elevate. So here is the Around the Bend dies. They're so cool. So the ones that make leaf flourishes around the bend, we have scalloped around the bend, we have around the bend, we have some florals and some leaves. Now, if you don't happen to have the around the bend dies, and we're still using lots of things from our stash, we had our stitched fancy borders from Close to My Heart, and I think you could get a similar look with those if you want to grab those out of your stash. So we're going to start with card number 1. And I did use this Around the Bend die with the Journey cardstock at 3 by 5.5. And we're going to cut it with that larger Around the Bend die that actually has the little speckled holes and then a stitched curved border on that. So we're going to start with 3 by 5.5 on the Journey cardstock. Then we're actually going to do the White Daisy, which is a little larger at 3.5 by 5.5, and we're going to add the scalloped Around the Bend die. Now I put them on top of each other so that I could kind of get the curve in the same way. I'm going to show you here in a little bit how you can have a more wonky curve if you want to, or you can have a more symmetrical curve. Again, that's 3.5 by 5.5 on the white. We're going to use the silver floral cardstock, which is actually going to be 1.5, I believe, by 5.5. Let me double check that here. Yes, 1.5 by 5.5. We're going to cut one of the large flowers out of Journey, and we're also going to cut a Journey flower center. We're going to cut one of each leaf style out of Journey glitter paper and one flower center out of Journey paper, and then a White Daisy large flower as well. They're all shown right here, and we're using that same Around the Bend die. We're going to add that floral, silver floral on the bottom, and then I'm actually going to do some treatments on that white, or some stamping on the white scallop border, and then we'll put it together. So I have a couple stamp sets here. I have the Unbounded Love stamp set from Stampin' Up, which has all of these great sentiments, but I also pulled S2005, which was an older stamp of the month that we had, and many Close to My Heart paper crafters out there have lots and lots of our Stamp of the Month kits, but I just wanted to show you that just about any sentiment will work. So I'm turning my Versamat over. I'm going to put my all-purpose mat on top. I'm actually going to double up the first card, and then moving forward, we're just going to make one of each card. But I just wanted to show you how this Stamp of the Month stamp, again, that was S2005, um, is going to be able to curve around the bend as well. I'm looking at the Unbounded Love, and I'm going to pick a sentiment out of that. Now, I did do a video that's probably going to launch today as well. I think I'm launching videos today because it's my very first day as a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, at least the time that I'm recording a couple weeks prior, but I'm excited to launch it on my first day as a demonstrator. But I actually showed how I converted my stamps and dies that I have gotten from Stampin' Up! Into a more envelope style of what I'm used to in my storage for Close to My Heart, and I'll link that in a description. So you're going to see some different packaging that I'm using, and it's just simply because I converted the hard cases and the envelopes with the dies in them that don't have photos. So on Stampin' Up, some of the dies come packaged with a label on the top, but they don't have a photo, and I like to visually see. So I did a little video on how I changed mine up. I'm not sure it's going to be my permanent solution, but it might be. I'm just testing it out to see how I like it before I convert everything. So now I'm showing you in Close to My Heart, we were able to bend our acrylic stamps onto the block and bend them in different positions. So I've actually just bent this Stamp of the Month stamp along the bend or the curve of that scalloped piece, and I haven't used Stampin' Up! Stamps, so I'm just experimenting, but I'm curious if I'm able to bend the Stampin' Up! Stamp in the same way that I am used to bending our Close to My Heart stamps. So the polymer stamps, the clear acrylic polymer stamps, are more pliable. Now, the Stampin' Up! Stamp doesn't feel quite as pliable as what I'm used to with Close to My Heart, but I end up finding out that they bend just as easily. And so I'm just bending that to a little bit different of a shape. I kind of want the flower cluster to butt right up to the end of the sentiment, and it's a little shorter sentiment. So I'm going to go up on the curve a little farther. I'm using Journey ink, of course, and I'm going to move that upward a little bit. So right now, for a while, you're going to be seeing me use a mixture of products. So I really want to help my Close to My Heart paper crafters use lots of things from their stash and get things used up. But I also want to introduce some amazing and wonderful new things from Stampin' Up! So you're going to see me toggle back and forth and try to give you both ways. There's so many amazing Stampin' Up! Stamps that would work for this. Now you can see how I did one wonky and one a little more symmetrical, and I actually like it both ways. I think it looks really cool. Now I'm going to try out the Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. So we, in Close to My Heart, had rolls of thin 3D foam tape, regular 3D foam tape. We also had a lot of shaker windows, and I was always using up square foam that was a little thicker from our shaker windows. This is one of those from a slimline shaker where I have tons and tons of this foam tape to still use up. They designed our shaker window foam so that the inside wasn't wasted, and it had lots of little foam squares. So I'm going to use up my old foam squares on the right side, and on the left side, I'm going to try out these Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. So the Stampin' Up! Dimensionals are a little thinner than our shaker foam. And then I compare it a little bit later here to our thin 3D foam. And it's really close. Maybe the dimensionals are a teeny tiny bit thicker than our thin 3D. And then I check it with our regular thickness of our regular 3D foam, and it's almost spot on. It's pretty close with that. So it's just kind of interesting. So I almost kind of feel like the Stampin' Up! Dimensionals are a little bit in between our two foam, but it's probably closest to our regular size, I would say. And so I think any that you use is going to work great. If you're using dimensionals, if you're using old foam from our slimline dies and our shaker die, our shaker foam and acetate, or if you're using up up some of our rolls of foam tape. So Stampin' Up! Has been so generous to say that we can use up product that we still have for a period of time. I believe it's till December of 2024. So we can do some mixing of some product. They know that we have a lot of things that we still want to promote and get rid of, and that we still want to use and play with because we love it and we didn't have a chance. So I'm really happy to have the opportunity to use this gorgeous journey. It was our special last month in April, and they brought it out in our very, very last month of Close to My Heart. And of course, it completely sold out, as did most everything on the shop site. So there, I'm loving both ways. I love the Stampin' Up! Unbounded. Is it Unbounded Love? Unbounded Beauty? I'm learning. I'm learning. I hope you'll have some grace with me. And then I'm also trying out the Stampin' Up! Chamois. And so we have our stamped chamois over here on the right, and we have a great stamped chamois case that has a decorative air-rated view, and I'm loving that. I've always loved that. And then on the left, the Stampin' Up! Stamped chamois is a thicker foam. I do notice that it absorbs a lot of moisture, so it stays moist quite a while because of the thickness of it. I haven't been able to check to see if they have a case for it, but I was thinking I could probably cut it into pieces and use my existing Close to My Heart chamois case if they don't have a chamois case, but I am going to go after I'm done with this video and check that out. Now this I'm excited to try. This is a Stampin' Up! Glue with a fine tip. We did have a fine tip applicator in Close to My Heart for our liquid glass, but the liquid glass is a very special product that you can put clear coating on things, and it also dried very, very quickly. So this is more of a regular glue, not as quick drying. So I've noticed that the tip does not get clogged, and I'm struggling because the camera is between me and my hands, but it seems to go in there really nice, and I love the fineness of it. But you're going to see here, my very first time using it, I squeeze too hard and I get so much out. So it takes just a tiny little squeeze and it gives you a dainty little amount. And so here you can see I'm like, oh my gosh, I got so much and I barely touched it. So a gentle hand on that, but I love the fine tip applicator. I've always loved our Tombow glues from Close to My Heart. I use Tombow Clear and the Tombow Green, and I love them. But I do love the applicator on the Stampin' Up! Fine tip applicator adhesive glue. So I apologize if I'm not getting all the names right. I'm learning all the names as a brand new Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. So I know those who follow my channel know that many Close to My Heart makers have been welcomed into the Stampin' Up! Community. So I'm cringing if there's Stampin' Up! People watching me and I'm getting the names wrong. So there are thin cuts are equivalent to their dies. Our embossing folders are equivalent to their masks. So they have just different names, same concepts, and beautiful on both ends. So now I'm actually just adding some of the centers that are on the around the bend dies. These flowers come right on that around the bend die set that you see over there on the right. The centers come in it. There's leaves that come in it. There's separate leaves. There's longer flourish leaves. There's the corner wavy dies that are scalloped, that are straight, that are stitched, that have attached flourish leaves on them. It's really, really a gorgeous set. I was teasing with my paper crafters when I debuted this set. This set is going to be a bonus kit set for making a minimum purchase on my shop site, which is something that I've done for 5 or 6 years in Close to My Heart. Close to My Heart had a Stamp of the Month program, and when my paper crafters earned the Stamp of the Month for free or at a discount, and they placed a minimum order on my shop site, they received a pre-cut bonus kit that they could receive in the mail, and then they could add their Stamp of the Month sentiments to it. So it was designed for them to get their Stamp of the Months out of the cases and get them using those stamps so that they are more apt to use them more often, and instead of them collecting dust. So now that we no longer have, of course, a Close to My Heart Stamp of the Month program, I asked my paper crafters, what do you want to do? Should we just do away with the bonus kits? What should we do? And there we have it. Isn't that pretty? So now you have 3 versions. We're going to add a little bling with the loose silver sequins. I'm going to show you how I roll out my glue dots. I add loose sequins, 1 onto each dot, and I'm actually going to try out a Stampin' Up! Picker tool. And it has different attachments that go on the end. So one end has a little bit of adhesive goop on the end, and you can replace that end, and it has new goop in the replacements. I don't know what the word is besides goop. And then it actually works slick. I love it. And then on the other hand, it has a slider tool that is a flat metal piece that helps you pick off your gems and things and slide them off of adhesive. And I really, really love that. I got my string. I like to tie a little string around my glue dots so they don't flop around, and then I can slide my glue dots out, and I just got my string a little bit tight on that one. And then another tool, there's a brusher tool that attaches to it, and there's one more tool, a scoring stylus that attaches to it. So wow, it does everything. I think it also it may not only just be used for scoring. I bet it's probably a rounding tool, or a, what do you want to call it, where you rub it in the middle of things and give them a curve, and you give them a little curve like flowers and things like that. I'm thinking it can be used for that. I have to explore it, but I am loving the slider portion. I'm loving the picker tool portion. I love it. So now I'm just adding some of those loose sequins. Loose sequins are a great way to embellish cards. So far with this particular card, we've layered some thin cuts on the top. We added curved sentiments by curving our stamps on the block and stamping, and then we've done some clustering, and we're going to add sequins to elevate. So I love that. So let's move on to card number 2. This one is super fun. Card number 2, we're going to use that scalloped die again, and I did lay those on top of each other to get the same curve, just so that when I stack them, they're relatively the same. They could be a little wonky and they would be fun, but then I created 2 of the large white flowers. I created a couple of the longer leaves out of the ombre pattern paper, and then another long leaf out of the Journey cardstock, and then I created the dots in the center. I believe I created those out of either the just regular Journey cardstock, I think. Let's see here. Yeah, I think I did create those out of just the regular Journey cardstock. So what I'm going to do for my layering, I kind of want to layer off of the card. Sometimes I will layer by just tucking under, tucking under, tucking under, tucking under, but I want to layer it off the card by just putting one adhesive strip at the top, centering it, because I would like to pop up the entire layered section with foam tape so that there's a little bit of dimension between those layers and the top of the card front, because I'm going to be showing you some elevation techniques and doing a little bit of inking under there so that the inking just peeks through underneath. And so I think that's going to be fun. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to use my dimensionals again, getting used to using what I have available to me in Stampin' Up. But of course, I tell my paper crafters, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you have something from your stash that works, absolutely bash your stash. I plan to use all of my extra foam dots and foam tape over and over and over again till they're all gone from Close to My Heart, and get great use out of all of that. I am going to use my rub eraser. I do see that Stampin' Up! Has a rub eraser. eraser also. Love my rub eraser from Close to My Heart, and it looks like it's the same one in Stampin' Up. So on the right-hand side, I have a large Close to My Heart blending brush. On the left-hand side, I have a small Stampin' Up blending brush. Now, Stampin' Up has a larger one and a smaller one, and I was attracted to the smaller one because often I have little bitty spaces. Like if you just want to cover like a sentiment, but you don't want to blob it all over. I love the large one for larger projects, but I'm really loving this little one. Now, Journey ink is very bold, so I recommend that you always blot off, always rub off, because then it's about perfect when you go onto your project. So I made a little pencil mark where my top layers were going to go, and I just wanted a tiny bit of ink peeking out from underneath. Now I'm thinking to myself, a little bit of Journey shimmer brush. So if you got tons of shimmer brushes on our liquidation sale, they were like $1 something, I think. If you've gotten them, make sure you unscrew it. Don't pull, unscrew it. Take the yellow piece out of the middle. Then when you pull the top off, you're going to pull. So unscrew when you first get it and unscrew the yellow. Pull it apart in the future. Squeeze a little bit out on scrap paper so you don't just blob a bunch on your paper, and then practice tapping off. And this is an elegant card, so I don't want a lot of distress. I just want a little bit of splatter that's going to come on the front of that with the hue in the back. Really gorgeous. Now I'm going to peel my dimensionals. I'm going to admit, I love our foam tape because I was lazy and I could just roll it out and do one rip instead of peeling the backs of all the dimensionals. But I do that with my foam tape from Close to My Heart as well. I have to peel all of those as well. I'm going to admit I don't remember. I was exploring the Stampin' Up website to see if we have, I say we now because I'm a demonstrator, but if there is foam tape. So I'll have to check that out. I don't know yet. I'm just experimenting with a few products at a time or projects at a time. So now I am grabbing a stamp, a sentiment stamp, and I'm thinking that I want to, and I think it's from Unbounded Love. Yep, Unbounded Love, a Stampin' Up stamp. And I'm going to stamp that in the lower corner. Of course, again, the Stamp of the Month stamp that I pulled out from Stampin' Up would be gorgeous along the bottom. It would also, because it's a longer stamp and it has the little flourishes on the end, you could curve that right in the area where we added the inking and the splattering, and it would be gorgeous. But I'm loving the little sentiment in the lower right. And now we're going to cluster again, same way. Typically when I cluster, I might anchor with a flush flower, pop up another flower, and then use those two flowers as my anchors and just build flourishes around those anchors. And I think that's going to be so, so pretty. Now, I missed a step on this card that I didn't realize until I came back to the replay. There's a little bit of shimmer trim on that left card in my master base card. And what I did is I cut about 1.5 inches of Journey shimmer trim, and then I cut that lengthwise, so I had about 1/4 inch of each of those instead of 1/2, and I tucked those as an added element right into the flower, and I missed that when I was putting this the second one together for film. And if you don't have the shimmer trim, you can just add some of the glitter paper and do like 1/4 inch each, about 1.5 inches or less. And that little bit of glitter in there just really, it just really makes it sparkle a little bit. I realize this is primarily monochromatic because we're just doing journey on journey on journey, but I really, really think it's so beautiful with the pops of white, the pops of silver, and the different variations, like even in the sequins where you have lighter journey, darker journey. And there I've used my new picker tool again, and I love it. So sparkly. Here we go. We are moving right along. So we're going to do some sandpaper technique. Excuse me. And I used this stitched curved die to create that corner and the corner piece, and then just built a cluster on top. So I have embossed this and it is 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of Journey cardstock, and I have embossed it with one of our flower embossing folders from my Close to My Heart stash. But wow, Stampin' Up! Has amazing embossing folders to choose from as well. And I love our white core paper on the Journey, where you sand it and you get to see bits and pieces of the white core peeking through, and you distress it a little bit. So again, that base is going to be the interior base, I'm sorry, is actually 4 by 5 1/4, and it's going to get mounted on a card base. And then, or is it? Wait a minute. Yeah. 4 by 5 1/4, and we're embossing it or masking it if you are from Stampin' Up! Originally. And then you're going to make sure to wipe, because some of that powdery stuff from that definitely gets all over your all-purpose mat. So the size of the gingham is going to be, I believe it is, why do I not have that? I think it's 3 1/4 by, let me see here. Let's see. The pattern is, 4 1/4 by 3 1/2. 4 1/4 by 3 1/2. So sorry, I couldn't find that. And we're going to actually pop that up with foam tape, and then we'll mount it. But I'm grabbing a die. I think a banner, you could just dovetail a banner. But because I had the Unbounded Love stamp set, I actually had the Unbounded Love dies. I keep wanting to say thin cut. I have the Unbounded Love dies, and these actually fit around all of the Unbounded Love stamps. And I believe that we received this at a Close to My Heart event that was hosted by Stampin' Up, where we got swag bags. And I believe this was one of the stamp sets and die sets that we received when we were getting our introduction to Stampin' Up. It was called a founder event, and it was hosted by Stampin' Up, and we got this great product bag, swag bag, and I have been so happy to have some product to play with. And I actually loved that little sentiment piece. So now I'm going to build a cluster with some different parts and pieces. So we have in white, we have 2 flower centers, 2 large leaf branches. We have 2 2-part leaves in white. We have 3 hearts in the Journey glitter paper. In the Journey cardstock, we have 2 large flowers, 1 flower center, and 1 small leaf. So you can see those pieces there. And of course, if you earn this new Stamp It Up bonus kit, you will get a full instruction guide with all the dimensions, full color photos, and all of that. If you want to just follow along and you already have the parts and pieces, or you want to bash your stash with parts and pieces, you can just follow along with this video. But if you feel like you would love to have this pre-cut kit, it is a new bonus kit program that I've implemented on day 1 here of my new Stampin' Up! Journey, and I will put all the details in the description on how you can earn this free base kit, and then you add your own sentiments to it. So you will do your own stamping, but all of the embossing and the die cutting and all of that is done for you to make all 4 cards in this series. I'm so excited. I started to tell you, my paper crafters decided that they loved this program, that they didn't want to lose the bonus kit program, that they've been loving it for 5 or 6 years, and they wanted me to find a way to make a bonus kit program in Stampin' Up! in the same way that I had my bonus kit program in Close to My Heart. So there's only one difference, and that would be in Close to My Heart, it was called the Stamp of the Month program, and I have named it in Stampin' Up! The Stamp It Up bonus kit program. So very similar, where I create a cute card kit each week, and when they reach a minimum purchase each month, they get my Stamp of the Month kit. Oh, I said each week. I make a Stamp It Up bonus kit every month. And then, so this is the Stampin' Up bonus kit for May, my very first month as a Stampin' Up demonstrator. Wow, I am loving my picker tool. I'm loving my adhesive. They're a little awkward to figure out at first in terms of me just not being used to using it. So I'm fumbling a little bit, but I'm loving it. I have very large hands and fingers, and so the picker tool and the slider tool and the very fine tip glue are great. I am happy. I wasn't sure. I told my husband when I first started, the very first thing that I used of Stampin' Up's is this Around the Bend die set. And I told my husband, it's probably not going to cut. It's, you know, it's probably not going to be pretty. I don't know. It's not the same as Close to My Heart. I was like really trying to find every excuse to not love it, and I love it. So, you know, I will always be true. My heart is with Close to My Heart. I did not want my time with Close to My Heart to end. If it was up to me, it wouldn't have ended, but I am embracing Stampin' Up, and I am finding gorgeous things. Don't you think these cards are gorgeous? I love it. And I've used several things from Stampin' Up, also showing you ways that you can use Close to My Heart items as well and use up things that you know and love. All right, this is one of my favorite dies, favorite dies in the Around the Bend die set. So it makes a stitched curve, but on the ends of the stitch curve is all these gorgeous detailed flourishes, leaf flourishes. Gorgeous. I really, that's my favorite one. And so let's talk about some sizes. I have a 4.5 by, a 4 1/4 by 5.5 base in the floral. And then it was White Daisy. Let me double check here. The White Daisy cardstock is 4 1/4 by 4.5. And then you will cut that, that die out of it. And then I'm actually just going to rub a little bit of Journey and do the splattering again. And I have visions of having a little curved text up there. I think we could curve a stamp or a sentiment down on the stitched curve on the bottom. I even thought about putting a 2-part sentiment, like putting one little sentiment on the stitched curve on the bottom on the left, and then another sentiment on the other side of the flowers on the right. But I ended up deciding to go with the curved sentiment around the flowers. Now I'm showing you here how I actually was able to cut a chunk out of the corner of this floral pattern and get that little round piece that we used for the previous card out of that corner so as not to waste pattern paper. So let's see here. We're going to have on this one a large white flower and a large Journey flower. We're going to have a small white flower center and a small Journey flower center. We're going to have one of each leaf in Journey for a total of 3, and we're going to have 3 sequins. And that's all of the bits on that, and we're going to make a cluster. I'm not going to put the cluster in place because I want to do my stamping. So I'm going to have one flush and one popped up as my anchor to my cluster, but I want to actually do the stamping. So I'm going to look for a stamp that I feel like I can curve again. I actually found a 2-part from the Unbounded Love stamp set from Stampin' Up, Hello and Friend, and I actually curved them on a slant so that I can curve them over the flowers in the center of the card. So I have loved showing you technique that you can use on my base kit for my Stampin' Up bonus kit. So you can zhuzh it up in any way you want, add your own flair, add any any stamps that you wish, whether they be Stampin' Up or close to my heart. Have fun with it, but I loved showing the ink blending, showing a little bit of the glue dots with the picker tool, curving sentiments, making clusters, popping things up with foam tape, using the sandpaper, doing some layering and splattering, and some inking and distressing to show you how to elevate any card kit, not just this card kit, but how you can elevate any cards, and it's been so much fun. Thank you for hanging with me on one of my very first videos as a Stampin' Up demonstrator. I hope you love the brand new Stampin' Up kit and that you'll tune in, hit subscribe, hit the notifications bell, shoot me a comment and let me know what you think about one of my very first projects out of the gate as a Stampin' Up demonstrator. I can't wait to learn all about Stampin' Up, learn all about all of their products, and become an expert in teaching and sharing all of the beautiful things and the cool things that they have. Thanks for hanging with me, and for those of you that were with me for all of those years and close to my heart and are still hanging with me today as a Stampin' Up demonstrator, mwah, here's to all of you. Thanks for crossing over with me, and to all of you new people, hang out and let's have some fun. Just come right back here and stay tuned to this channel right here on Snips by Kelly. Thank you so much. Bye.